Hello friends, welcome again to the Kumbi-Gikku Show. Another development and one of the most important developments in the last 4 days was the announcement from Rohit Sharma that he was quitting Test cricket with immediate effect. That came about 2 days ago on 7th of this month. Did it come as a surprise to you? Did you think this was coming ahead of the all-important five Test series in England starting on June 20th?
To be honest, surprise, yeah, a bit. But having known Rohit, having been part of a lot of his games, he's played in domestic and an IPL. Always a guy who, put team ahead of himself, and a guy pretty cool in his character and demeanor. The last game, I think, when he sat out in the Border Gavaskar Trophy game in Sydney, he was pretty critical of and vocal about the comments made by former cricketers sitting in the comm box. He said that they cannot decide the future of cricketers, sitting behind a laptop or sitting behind a mic. He was pretty vehement, and he said form is just temporary. So it's just a few more months before England happens, and it's just one knock for me to get back into form. And yes, he rediscovered his form in the IPL in the last 4 or 5 knocks. He started off pretty slowly, though he's played mostly as an impact player. But certainly he created that impact in the last 4 or 5 games. Having said that, 20-over cricket, 50-over cricket and red ball cricket for 5 days, I think they're all different kettle of fish and totally different entities. So he's turned 38 now. Did he have the, strength in his legs to prolong his career for the long 2-month tour of England and carry the burden of the team with the sort of results they've had in the last couple of home series against New Zealand and in Australia? So all these things would have weighed down on him, but not sure about what transpired between the management of BCCI and Rohit Sharma. Because I remember having read somewhere that, categorically Ajit Agarkar had said that we are in no mood to announce a captain for the England tour as early as, anything before the 2nd or 3rd week of May. Maybe there was an inkling or a message that he might have received saying that if that is not happening, Rohit Sharma would not have been a part of the team just as a player. Right. So if he had made the trip, he would have made it as a captain. Yes, partly surprised, partly not, because his form of late in the last 12-14 months have been pretty dwindling, and having known somebody, the way he's played his game, he has had his way always. He's not been bogged down by what people around him or the management or somebody else has to say about his cricketing abilities. So that's it. Yeah, it's a 50-50 call. And yes, as a former cricketer and currently a cricket fan, I totally respect the call he's taken. And he's been a terrific servant for Indian cricket in red ball cricket, though he started off on a slow note as a middle order batsman. And he reinvented himself as a top cricketer when he started opening the innings. And 60-odd test matches, 4,000 runs, 1,200s at an average of 40. Somebody who's been around for 12-13 years in international cricket as a test cricketer, finishing off with an average of 40 is really commendable. And there's also an interesting stat. India has never lost a game when he's made 100 in test match cricket. So that shows all his knocks, his 1,200s have come either for a winning cause or India has not finished second in that particular game.
Right. And the last of his test 100 came against England last year. But after that, he has played in 3 test series and has not had a good run. Going by the form that he was in, he averaged only 10.50 at home against Bangladesh in those 2 test match series in India, 15.17 against New Zealand, and in which New Zealand for the first ever time won all the 3 test matches in India, and they themselves were surprised by the results. But then you have to give credit to New Zealand for the way they played in the 3 test series. And this included a 52 in the second innings of the Bangalore test match. And of course, the forgettable Border Gavaskar Trophy, where he didn't play in the first because of the birth of his child, and withdrew from the last. And in between those 3 test matches, he just averaged even bowlers would fare better than this particular average of 6.20 that Rohit had in the 3 test matches. Sri, if you read between the lines, you remember his statement that he made before walking away from that interview during that Sydney Test match, he gave the broadcasters in Hindi, "मैं कहीं नहीं जा रहा हूँ." Roughly translated means I'm not going anywhere. If you read between the lines, and which struck me after his retirement announcement, maybe he said he was not going anywhere as far as his Test career was concerned. Did you also get did you also think along those lines?
Yeah, maybe for once I thought, he got a bit emotional in a presser. Because last 2-3 years when he's captained India in all three formats, whenever India lost or whenever they did well, he was always a guy, whom we say put up a poker face. He never showed emotions on his face. I think that was a presser where he got a bit emotional because a lot of things were said about his form. And mind you, Gikku, being the captain of the side, when your form dips, you are playing in the side only as a leader. So normally the world looks at you to lead by example. And when your bat is not doing the talking, you're left with nothing. And mind you, the team is losing in Australia. They've lost in New Zealand. The pressure was on him. So maybe to make a strong statement saying that, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still around good enough to play Test cricket. I think maybe that was more out of emotions rather than, we didn't apply a lot of rational behind that. Yes, maybe after having come back to India, spent some time, pondered over a lot of things and got into IPL and the way he went about it, maybe it might have stuck him. And, he might have thought with his average of 10 plus in the last 8 or 9 Test matches, am I worthy enough to hold on to my place in the side as a batter first? And then with the results that have come over in the last 2 series, having lost a home series and in Australia, am I worthy enough to lead the side? Could be, some points that might have gone through his head. And end of his day, as I said, he is in the best position to judge where he is today, in what space he is. And I think, yes, totally respect the decision he's taken. And yes, Hitman, your journey as a Test cricketer has been fabulous. The sort of calmness you brought in the field, and whenever I've had a conversation with many of the current cricketers who played along with him, they said that he was a terrific guy to have in the dressing room. He was more like an elderly brother. He was always there for you to help you out. I think he leaves behind legacy is a big word to use. Maybe, he's captain India in about 24 Test games, but that's good enough. And a lot of the guys who played with him, the likes of Ashwin or Virat, Rahane, Pujara, who all fared in, tons of games. 100 each for Virat, Ashwin and Pujara, Rahane close to 80 odd games. And, all of them, they've come out and said that, he was a man to have in the side. So that speaks volumes, not only as a player, as a leader, the way he built the side around him, the sort of camaraderie he had when people looked upon to him. I think that's a legacy that's going to be really tough to, emulate and fill in. But yes, hats off, the sort of a flair he brought to the game as a batter and his calmness as a captain. An elegant player. Normally, right-handers, we don't always use the word as elegance because the game is transformed totally into a power-packed one. But Rohit, he turned resilience into elegance. That's what I can say. That's what Rohit Sharma has left his stamp behind as a Test cricketer. Yes, of course, he's not done and dusted completely. He still carries on to be the captain of the India ODI side.
ODI team, right. So, irrespective of Rohit scoring big runs or not, he's still the most popular leader and everybody loves him. And he has always been a captain's, a bowler's captain, wasn't he? I remember now, even a youngster as young as Rahul Chahar in his early days with Mumbai Indians, he did not forget to mention the role Rohit Sharma played in his early days. That was for Mumbai Indians in IPL. The confidence that he gives to bowlers, anybody for that matter, a young newcomer or even a senior like, say, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, they all love him because he's been a bowler's captain, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I think, I've captained sides in junior cricket, club cricket. So any teammate, I always believe that give it to the bowler first. Let him get his field or what he wants to do. When it doesn't go the way it does, then the captain steps in. I think always saw Rohit do that. And not somebody who was very animated and, did put up a lot of expressions on his face when things didn't go the way it did. But yes, as you said, he was a man who any teammate wanted to have. And obviously, to have a captain like him, and he worked a lot of time with Rahul Dravid. and Ravi Shastri for a brief period, and then he had a small stint with Gautam Gambhir. I think no coach can complain about the sort of attitude Rohit had and the way he carried the team around him. I think he was a fabulous leader, and certainly yes, for youngsters to look upon to him and pick up traits what he had in him. Tough shoes to fill because he led the side in a pretty tough situation, and certainly he did really well for himself as well as for Team India.
True. And he is one who doesn't behave like a leader when it comes to pulling off anybody's leg or cracking jokes in the dressing room, and he doesn't mind being the center of the jokes. We go back to Rohit Sharma. What have been your interactions? You have captain, you have umpired in matches, especially in IPL when he was there. What does he come across?
I think that there's not much of air about what he does. Initially, when I think my memory goes back to 2012. I think when I was standing in a game in Bombay then, and he was a youngster, and he came across as a pretty brash guy. That's what I thought. But later on, when he played IPL, and I was part of quite a few games when he played for MI, not somebody who expresses himself that much. He doesn't get livid at times. And even if there's something said on the field of play, he's the first guy when he walks off. He comes to you and he just says, "Arey, it was just at that point in time it just came off." Not somebody who foul mouths his players or just gets really angry at whatever happens. I would say yes, cricket no more remains a gentleman's game, but nevertheless one of those guys who's held himself in good state. And I would say if at all any youngster wants to take up this game and wants to imbibe some real good traits, which is very hard in modern day cricket, but that's somebody like Rohit Sharma. He's carried himself very well. If you can say, he's been a fantastic ambassador for cricket per se worldwide. It's not only for India. Yes, good luck to him in his future endeavors. Especially he's not done with cricket still, because I believe that he would be captaining India in the next ODI World Cup. After having won the Champions Trophy and the T20 World Cup. Maybe that is one trophy, having lost to Australia in the finals. He would like to sign off with a World Cup 50-over victory under his belt. Yes, one thing again I just want to add was, did he do a La Dhoni? 15th of August, Dhoni just threw a social media post that he's called it quits. I think cricketers today, the sort of adulation, the fanfare, the sort of reception they receive, it's all because of the fans.
True.
I think there needs to be, a bit more connect, when they come out. And yes, we do respect their decisions that they take, because it is totally independent, not driven by any external force. But, calling for a presser, having journalists like you around who've been covering cricket for decades together, and having seen all these cricketers grow from a very young age, take a couple of nice questions, and they can clear the air about why they had to quit the game or what was the reason behind it. I mean, no axe to grind or nothing to hide. So maybe it would have been nice, because he's a decorated cricketer.
Yes.
Same with MS. With 2 World Cup victories, 20-over inaugural World Cup, 50-over World Cup in 2011, brought India for the first time as the number 1 test playing nation. Rohit having done wonders with his team. I think the fans would have connected. They would have been much more happier, rather than, sulking, saying, did we see this on an Insta post? And, what he's written to BCCI, nobody knows. He's written a mail saying that, yes, I've called it a day. But somewhere I think it's always been like we've never had any pressers when most of our top cricketers have retired. Barring, I think I can recollect Rahul had a very good press conference wherein he recollected a lot of things and had to thank a lot of his teammates he played with for a long time. And mind you, all these cricketers have played for India for more than 10-12 years.
Yes.
Their journey has been long. They've seen a lot of ups and downs. They've had great friendships, rivalries on and off the field. There would be lovely stories to narrate and, to discuss so many things. I think these are moments that, the fans, everybody around them would certainly celebrate. It's not a day of mourning or remorse saying that, the world will move on. cricket will not come to a standstill just because, Dhoni retired or Rohit Sharma retired. I still remember the days, Jiko, though it's not in sync with what we are discussing. When
Mhm.
Sunil Gavaskar announced his retirement from Test match cricket, I remember Anil Kumble, those days, we were all playing junior cricket. We were discussing off record saying that will India go past 10 runs in their opening partnership because Gavaskar is not there. That
Right.
was the sort of thing that ran in our mind.
Right.
And we thought, that cricket closed. The sun would not rise. But we saw the advent of such great openers post that Virender Sehwag is a classic example. So we will certainly see more cricketers come in. They will come, they will perform. But to me, this is an occasion where we can celebrate what they did. It's an occasion to really celebrate. I think that's something, our top cricketers are refraining from, whatever the reason could be. So that's one thing that really stuck me. It was 7:29 on 7th May when he came out with this.
Exactly.
Not a shocker really. It was on the lines, if not now, maybe after England could have been. But yes, moving forward, is this going to be the trend? Is the big worry.
That's what the social media does. It reaches out to millions and millions than just what the newspapers, especially, but with whatever the circulation of the newspapers is. And like you mentioned, very rarely we see this retirement announcement in a press conference. Or earlier, players used to have the farewell matches. I remember Ishant Sharma having a farewell match in India. I think probably that was the last that any player of that caliber.
Sachin had his 200 test game, his last test match in Wankhede.
And of course, yeah. And you mentioned Rahul Dravid. VVS Lakshman, he called for a press conference at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium just about less than a week before an important home series against New Zealand in 2012. And he was certainly going to be playing that. But then that is how it is. And we celebrated them. Of course, yes, Rohit Sharma, maybe that's his. We can't question his personal choice, where he chooses to, how he chooses to. But then, yeah, that's something India will definitely miss Rohit Sharma. And like you mentioned, the grace, which is usually elegance, which is usually attached to left-handers. It won't be wrong in saying that he came across as the right-handed David Gower of international cricket. He was so beautiful to watch. Looking ahead, who do you look at? The possible captain for the England tour. There are talks of Shubman Gill, who is the vice captain, who is talked up as a future leader, future captain. He is marked as one of the captain material. There is always KL Rahul, who has experienced test captaincy record. And of course, Jasprit Bumrah is also there as a senior player and who did very well in Australia when Rohit was not around as captain. Who are your who you think will be captaining India and England?
I think look, we have to be a bit careful when we are looking at captaincy, because it's been very clear from the selection committee, and they've gone on to say that Jasprit Bumrah, because of the injury concerns, would certainly not be playing all 5 test matches in England. So when you are sure that your premier fast bowler is not going to play all 5 test matches, why would you appoint him as a captain? So one candidate is certainly ruled out. Maybe they can look at him as a vice captain and a guy who's been around for enough to be part of the think tank. Or when they tour abroad, there's a small group which is part of selection of the team. So Bumrah can very much be a part of it and provide his valuable inputs on the field. You said Shubman Gill, yes, a lot has been spoken about him, but yes, pretty early days for him in Test match cricket, and he's not had a great tour of Australia, and nor has he been extremely successful like he's been in India, in England. KL Rahul is the name that stands out for me. He's already captained India, and he's had a good success. And number 2, mind you, Jigo, he's been around the Indian side for 10, 11 years now.
Yes.
He's seen it all. As a batter, he's had success in England, in Australia, in South Africa, in foreign soil, especially for an opening batter. Though for a player who's played in excess of 50 test matches, his numbers certainly don't do justice for what he's capable of. I think, he's an experienced cricketer and somebody who can handle pressure well, on similar lines like what a Rohit Sharma can do. And yes, somebody who can open the innings, who can bat in the top order, who can bat in the middle, provide that flexibility, and he can be your second wicketkeeper on a tour. That's something really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And also my gut is, why is Rishabh Pant not being spoken about to the same vein like like a Bumrah or Shubman Gill as captaincy material? Because Rishabh in between was vice captain till the an unfortunate accident he had last year, and he had to be off cricket for a year.
Hmm.
Mind you, his form has been pretty fluctuating in white ball cricket. He's not had great success in 50 over or even currently in this IPL edition, but he's had phenomenal success in red ball cricket. Actually, it's an enigma.
Right.
Like Virender Sehwag, his strike rate in Test match cricket and his numbers were far, far staggering than what it was in 50 over or in T20 cricket. Similar to what Michael Slater from Australia was.
Right.
So some people, their flamboyance and their aggressive nature rubs off well in the longer format than in the shortest format. So yes, currently going by what form in white ball cricket Rishabh Pant is, nobody would even put a finger pointing towards him. But to me, yes, he's going to be a vital cog in the wheel for the England series. And he's one of those guys who could be in the run, subject to how the selection committee is going to think about it. But to me, the strong favorite, if I would go with, is KL Rahul. And yes, on a long-term basis, it all boils down to how Shubman Gill or Rishabh Pant fares in England. Because Rahul also is somebody who's pretty prone to injuries. And if he's not, possibly part of red ball cricket for 12 months in a year, it's also going to be tough to have a person as a captain on a long-term basis. Yes, looking at a very immediate and short-term goal, I think KL Rahul is my go-to man as captain.
Certainly. I also feel KL Rahul has to be the captain for the Test series in England, because he has also captained India in tests, two in Bangladesh, winning both of them 2-0, one in South Africa. But then he has also played in 4 of the 5 venues that England are going to play in June, July. Except for Manchester, he has played in all the other venues, and he has got hundreds in London, the 2 grounds in London, Lords and the Oval. So that also counts experience having played in England, which of course Shubman Gill has also played in England, but he has not had enough runs to back his credentials as a captain. And he has also had only one T20I series as a captain in the international level in Zimbabwe, which is you can't now consider it. Of course, it is international, but then coming against a lowly Zimbabwe, you expect anybody to lead the side to 3-4-1 was what India won in Zimbabwe last year. But otherwise, like you said, he didn't have a good series in Australia. Perhaps to name Gill in an all-important series in England, I don't think that will be a wise decision by the selectors, if at all they go with Gill. Of course, KL Rahul stands out. His experience, 10 plus years in international cricket, and also having led India in quite a few occasions in ODIs, in T20s, of course, in tests also. Well, of course, Jasprit Bumrah, like you said, I was actually, my first choice was going to be Jasprit Bumrah, because he did so very well, and he is one who also says openly that he wants the leadership role, and he is also the leader of the bowling attack. But then, prone to injuries, and he withdrew from the second bowling innings of the Sydney Test match. You're not going to be sure, like you mentioned, if he's going to play on all 5 Test matches. So, but otherwise, my first go-to will be Bumrah, but I'll always accept KL Rahul as the captain. So on that note, we have to come to the end of this, the Kumbi-Gikku Show. Wonderful talking again with you, Sri, and getting your insights on especially Rohit Sharma and him as a player, and of course the future Test captain.